everyone. Welcome back to, I guess, what I'm going to informally call Turning the Page with Beth and Jen. And we are not turning a page today. We have a lovely snow day outside, so we were not able to get into the library this afternoon to open the book or, proceed to the next page. But we do have some exciting other materials to share with you in our collection. We also have a first edition of Audubon's Quadrupeds of North America. And as this is part of our exhibition, we thought that we could share a little bit of this with you. And I'm going to let Beth take the reins now because I don't know very much about this book. So let's hear what you have to say, Beth.
Hi, everyone. Coming to you from virtual Pequot Library today. So we're celebrating the return of John James Audubon's Birds of America to Pequot Library in conjunction with an exhibit at Fairfield University Art Museum. And one of the items that we have on display at Pequot Library is John James Audubon's Quadrupeds of North America. First of all, here's a quiz. What does quadruped mean? Jen?
I think it means 4 feet.
That's correct. So this is Audubon's study of mammals that have 4 feet. And in 1843, about 5 years after the successful publication of Birds of America, the first Havel edition, Audubon and his collaborator, the Reverend John Bachman, decide to go west because Audubon wants to apply the things he's learned in making Birds of America to quadrupeds or 4-footed mammals. So they leave New York, and Audubon is carrying a letter of introduction from the then president, John Tyler, and all seems to be fine. They get as far west as Fort Union, which is in the upper Missouri River area where the North Plains Indians live. And at the time of Audubon, that area was known and important for fur trading. Audubon's intention was to go all the way to the Rockies, but he never did. They stayed in Union, and he followed his practice of going on hunts to see new specimens. And here we're going to start with a really bold and somewhat unsettling image that he painted of an American red fox. Like the birds, he's putting the fox in its natural habitat. In the background, you can see farm country, open fields, but you also see the dangers that the foxes are exposed to. And in the lower left corner, you see that the fox has his leg trapped in, caught in a trap that hunters or farmers would have set. Clearly, the fox is in pain and is growling at either the event or someone close by.
It's really, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Let's go back.
Yeah, sure. Just for a moment, I'm just kind of remarking on how it's interesting because this is unlike the Birds of America images, where you don't really see a whole lot of human influence or interaction aside from maybe a building in a background. Like, this is a very direct, portrayal of the effect of humans on wildlife. It's also interesting that he was just, that he was killing and drawing the specimens in Birds of America, but sees like a very profound shift kind of here in terms of fur trapping.
Right, and we're going to see exactly what you're observing in this in other ways coming up. Here's a cuter, if you will, should I use the word cute in terms of Audubon? A more pleasant painting. He calls these 4 striped ground squirrels. I would call them chipmunks. I'm not an expert, so I could be wrong, and they could be striped ground squirrels too. But again, look at the natural habitat. The animals are going after berries. You see them in different postures, and once again, lovely large size images of the animals. What's curious in this study is, and if I may draw your attention by zooming in down here, you see that Audubon has identified the man who drew this painting onto stone, the stone being part of the lithograph process to create this print. That we don't see in Birds of America. So this is really a lovely new detail that we find in Quadrupeds of North America.
About how large is Quadrupeds of North America as compared to Birds of America?
I think there are about 150 plates, but as we'll learn, they're not all John James Audubon's plates. Moving on, look at these raccoons, male and female. That raccoon face is pretty fierce in my book. And you see the wonderful lithography where you cannot tell where one color starts and the other color stops. And look at how very scary those paws are on the raccoon's feet. So let's talk about Audubon and what he's doing and what's happening to him at this time. So he's still in Fort Union, and after about 2 months, his behavior begins to change. He basically goes into a depression. One of the reasons I found by reading up on this book is that related to your observation, Jen, what was happening was that Audubon was seeing the rampant destruction of buffalo by white hunters. And we see this quote from Audubon that William Souter of the Smithsonian Magazine pulled from Audubon's journal. He says, "Daily we see so many that we hardly notice them more than those in our pastures about our homes. But this cannot last. Even now there is a perceptible difference in the number of the herds, and before many years the buffalo, like the great auk, will have disappeared. Surely this should not be permitted." This quote tells us a great deal. Audubon is struggling with this fact. It also links us back to the Birds of America and the wonderful image of the great auk that Audubon includes there as well. So as he views this, he struggles even more. And if he left New York in March, by November, he's back in New York because he didn't want to go any further. He did continue creating paintings at home and passing them on to lithographers. But within a few years, essentially, he had given up his project. And we see here that his son eventually takes over the work. This lovely photo image of gray rabbits is a John James Audubon, but this next one of a prong-horned antelope is done by his son, John Woodhouse Audubon. Essentially, the son finishes Audubon's project. And you know, stylistically here, there's a difference. He's placing the animals in their habitat, but to me, the animals look a bit stiff.
And stylized.
Very stylized.
Yeah.
So you're not getting that idea of a ferocious animal. In this case, antelopes should be lithe, should be jumping about. you're not getting as much movement in the painting as you would from an original John James Audubon.
Yeah, they look a
But
little vacant.
John Woodhouse wants to finish his dad's project. Again, he also includes the name of the lithographer here to continue what his father started. And here's another one by John Woodhouse. These are mice, and they're referred to as orange-colored mouse. I'm not sure I see much orange. It could be the passage of time, but they're mice, okay. Again, it's a placid painting. It's not necessarily the father's painting style at all. So the collection of images was prepared. They sold the volumes by subscription and delivered the images in installments in the same business model as used with the Birds of America. But by 1851, Audubon is into full dementia, and he ends up dying that year. We are lucky, though, to have this at Pequot Library, and we hope that someday soon you can come to visit. Jen, did you have some other observations?
I was just noticing the tears in some of the pages. Is that just the time and use?
The tears
In some of the previous images.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at this point in time, there is an introduction of some acidic paper as opposed to the cotton-based paper of Birds of America. This is also not a volume printed in double elephant size. This is a normal folio size, so they could have begun to use different paper types.
Mm-hmm. That are not as durable and
not quite as durable as that wonderful cotton-based paper that's in the double elephant folio.
And just so we have a time frame, and because I don't remember the exact dates, this came after the Bien edition or before?
Before the Bien edition, but after the Havel edition of Birds of America.
So that's interesting.
So last week we looked at the wild turkey that Audubon painted in 1825. These are from the mid 1840s. Mm-hmm. And then the Bien edition that we have, John Woodhouse Audubon publishes in 1860.
I just find it interesting that he went back to the original work and the original materials. But do you think that financially motivated?
I think Audubon wanted the other project until he started seeing too much of the sadness that was going on in the American West. And that seems to be a turning point from what I've read. And like the Bien edition that Pequot Library owns, it's thanks to John Woodhouse Audubon, not only for that edition, but for finishing the collection of paintings in Quadrupeds of North America.
Sounds like John Woodhouse Audubon doesn't get enough credit in
probably not, yeah.
Conversations. And then I'm sure this is just speculation, but in the quote that you provided, he mentions the auk. Do you think there is maybe a little regret about his own work there?
Well, that auk that he painted actually escaped.
Oh!
That was in his notes. The auk was so unpleasant on board the ship that I think the sailors helped it escape.
That makes me love auks even more than I already do. Awesome. This was fantastic. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you have to share with us? Thank you. Special Collections at Pequot Library.
Thank you. Let's hope we don't have a snowstorm next week and we can do another page turning together.
Yes.
For everybody to see.
That'll be great. And in the meantime, within the next couple of days, we should be releasing the virtual version of the exhibition, which will also include links to our opening presentation with Patrick Cummins, links to the Fairfield University Art Museum exhibition information, and also links to these videos. So thank you so much, Beth, and I'll see you next week.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.